Hey guys, it's Kevin in my review for Dolemite Is My Name. And what Dolemite Is My Name essentially about is we center on the true story of Rudy Ray Moore, and he is someone who has always had this desire to be a comedian. So when he sees this comedy routine from this character known as Dolemite that really hasn't gotten off the ground, he decides to adopt this character and make him his own, and eventually decides that he doesn't just want to be a comedian, he wants to turn Dolemite into a movie, despite everyone's discouragement, which ends up becoming one of the most successful blaxploitation movies of all time. And basically we start to see how this really boosts his ego, and also how it really did cultivate an entire genre and things like that. So, Dolemite Is My Name overall, I was very excited for this film. Not just because of the fact that it looked really fun and things like that, but really because it was Eddie Murphy's big return. This is a film that I think he very much, it seemed like a film that he very much needed. Eddie Murphy has been away from the public domain for a while, and I was very excited to see him make his return. And I gotta say, Dolemite Is My Name very much did live up to the hype, because this is easily one of the most entertaining and fun films of the entire year, but also really does serve as just a triumphant return for Eddie Murphy overall. But we're just getting to right now, starting off with the cast. Which, I mean, like I said, that's definitely one of the biggest draws of the movie, if not the biggest draw of this movie, is, of course, Eddie Murphy, and this is definitely the film that he needs. He gives his best performance, maybe of his entire career here. He is most certainly back, and absolutely kills it as Rudy Ray Moore. This is someone who is very similar to James Franco's portrayal of Tommy Wiseau in The Disaster Artist. Yes, he's very eccentric. Yes, he's very odd at points, but he's someone who has a real desire to achieve a dream. He wants to become an actor. He wants to be a comedian. He'll do anything to do that. And just seeing his drive, what makes him what he is, I think Murphy just absolutely killed it here. He's so charismatic and energetic in this role, and it's just such a great return to form for him. This is absolutely the kind of film that he needed right now, and I hope moving forward he tries to take on more roles than this one. This is a very challenging role. It was definitely one that I think was tailor-made for Murphy. It's honestly hard to believe that Rudy Ray Moore was a real person, because it very much seems like this role was written for Eddie Murphy in that way, and I think he just did such an excellent job here. I don't know if we're talking Oscar-worthy. I'm hearing many people say that he could possibly be in contention for one, but that category is so stacked this year that I honestly don't know if he'll be able to get in there. But if he was to, I think he is definitely very deserving, because he absolutely just kills it here and gives, like I said, maybe the best performance of his entire career. But someone else who I think also really did kill it here was Wesley Snipes as the director of the film, and I thought he was absolutely hysterical. I mean, this is someone who, again, like The Disaster Artist, is very similar to Seth Rogen's character, where he takes on this project, and, he's someone who's worked on very prestigious work before. He's worked with Roman Polanski and things like that, and he is just absolutely hysterical to watch. You can tell that Dervel Martin is not taking this film very seriously. He's really just doing it for like the money and things like that, and he's just so fun to watch here. He very much serves as the audience with the way that he's reacting to like the movie and things like that, and I just thought he was so fun in this film, and definitely similar to Eddie Murphy, was so well casted here. And the rest of the cast here also does an incredible job, but another big standout for me, though, that I don't think enough people are talking about is Divine Joy Randolph, who I thought was fantastic here. She plays this character of Lady Reed, who is someone who isn't an actress, but similar to Moore, she is trying to get out there. She actually, becomes part of Moore's comedy tour and kind of serves as like a confidant to him, and I thought she was just really great here. She's very supportive towards him, and you can just see what she has to go through as well, and I just thought she was so good in this film. She was really fun, but also just gave a really, I think, really just tender performance. She probably has some of the most genuine scenes in the entire film, and some of the best scenes in the movie are just Eddie Murphy and Divine Joy Randolph interacting, and I really hope I do get to see more of her, because I thought she was really great here. But the rest of the cast is also really great. I mean, Keegan-Michael Key, Craig Robinson, Titus Burgess, Mike Epps. I mean, all of them do some really great work here. Cephas Jones is really great for what he's in. Snoop Dogg, Chris Rock. I mean, really everyone gives a fantastic performance here. I can't really think of a dud in the cast overall. And with the cast this star-studded, I mean, really everyone gets at least one shining moment here. But now let's get to the directing and the writing here, which is definitely another one of my favorite things about this movie. The directing here by Craig Brewer is really great. He does a really great job with, I think, honoring Rudy Ray Moore, but also realizing that this guy was a little bit out there and definitely had some really radical ideas, and he just has a lot of fun with it, almost directing it like a blaxploitation film in that way. I mean, this film is frequently very energetic. It's so much fun to watch, and it's also completely hilarious. I mean, I was laughing hysterically throughout a lot of parts in this movie, and a lot of that is due to the way that Brewer will helm certain scenes. I think he just did a really great job there, but again, he also really, you can tell, respects the hell out of Rudy Ray Moore, and just the fact that he's someone who put himself out there, even knowing that he wasn't the greatest actor in the world, he put himself out there, and I think Brewer did a really great job with directing there, but the writing is also really great to this film, because for a movie like this, it could easily be very generic. And yes, I will say, does it fall into the tropes of many of these kind of films we've seen before, where you have someone who wants to achieve a goal, and, you know, he's very out there, and you see, like, the rise and fall of him? Yes, we've seen this story done before. In fact, like I said, this movie is very similar to The Disaster Artist in that way. But the way that the screenplay is handled here, it is handled in its own unique way. I mean, we get a very good look into who Rudy Ray Moore really was. Like I said, this is a guy who really just wants to put himself out there. He looks at the world of Hollywood and finds it boring. He doesn't like the fact that there isn't a lot of, you know, cutting-edge stuff going on. He thinks all the movies are the same, and he really wants to make a difference there. When he first discovers the persona of Dolemite, he wants someone to take this comedy routine. He feels like this is a comedy routine that could be very well received. And you see how him putting on this persona really strengthens him for the better. He becomes far more confident. He becomes just a far better person overall. And I think that the writing was really well done in that way. Because again, at the end of the day, yes, we have seen the story done before, but just seeing Moore's passion and how much he cared about getting this done, even though, yes, it wasn't that great of a film, Moore's passion is very evident within this film, and I think that's something that is really well exhibited through the screenplay here, and that's something that I think they did really well, but also showing just how ridiculous of a film Dolemite really was. I mean, this film was completely just insane. There were so many things that Rudy Ray Moore wanted to do. There's one scene in general involving the way that they constructed this sex scene that was just absolutely hysterical to me, and I think they did a really great job with that, but also seeing how people were discouraging him. There are many points in the film where Rudy is talking about how, you know, he's going to become like this big star and things like that, but sometimes he has to be brought down to earth because he's not a leading man. He's not someone you would normally consider. He is overweight, he is very crude, he's raunchy, he's loud, and he's just not the kind of person that would fit into Hollywood, but yet he's still able to make this movie. He's still able to become successful from it, and I think we have a lot to learn from that. I didn't really know a lot about Rudy Ray Moore going into this film. Unlike The Disaster Artist, where I did have a lot of knowledge about Tommy Wiseau, I didn't know a lot about Rudy Ray Moore, and this film gets you to know a lot more about him, and I think they did a really great job with that screenplay-wise here. And like I said, that's part of the fun as well, because Rudy does have some really radical ideas, and characters like Wesley Snipes, for example, help show the hilarity of the situation. His character was just so entertaining to me. There are so many scenes with him that he provides some great humor throughout, but also serving as someone who would put down Rudy Ray Moore, and kind of serving as the audience of the 70s. I mean, this was not welcome. This was not something that people enjoyed at first, because it was weird. It was very different at the time. It just wasn't something that you would normally see in Hollywood, because it was very much pushing the boundaries, and people didn't really see it as anything other than that. I mean, he had kung fu in this movie. He has, you know, all these weird sort of, you know, very strange dialogue. It's just, it's not the kind of movie that Hollywood would want to, you know, that's, you know, that a well-respected, production company would want to acquire. And this film very much does get into that. But again, it's Rudy's passion. That's really what kept him from stopping. And even characters like Divine Joy Randolph, who really does serve as the most supportive, I think, out of everyone. She's always there to encourage him when things are getting down, when things aren't looking great for him. She's always there to encourage him. And I think that's something this movie does incredibly well, is that, yes, it is very hysterical. It is very entertaining, but it also remembers to have a really big heart. It has tons of respect for Rudy Ray Moore and what he ended up doing. And that's something that I think we all can relate to. You know, people that want to do something, you should try your hardest. Even if you're not that good at it, at least you tried, at least you did it. And that's the thing that Rudy Ray Moore can say in this movie. And how many people can say that? That they, a lot of people can't say that they've completed their dreams. And that's something that Rudy Ray Moore did do. And I think this film respects him quite well in that way. So I thought the screenplay was overall really great here. The cinematography is fantastic in this film. They represent the 70s aesthetic so well. You really feel like you're in that time period. It's so dazzling and colorful, and I just really loved the cinematography for sure, especially the scenes where they're recreating the Dolemite stuff. At the end of the movie, they actually show the real-life film, and they were, like, spot on when it came to the recreations there. I thought they did a great job with that. The score as well, I really loved. It's very 70s, really puts you in that mood, and I think it's probably one of my favorite aspects of this entire film. It really just kept me so entertained, and I really love the score here a lot. And the editing, I do think there are moments of this film that can drag. Definitely the first half, I thought, was a little slow for sure. There were definitely some moments that did drag on just a bit for me, but overall I thought the pacing was pretty good here. The film is almost 2 hours long, and I think that's the length that they needed it to be. I do think there's some things they could have dived a little bit deeper into, but overall I was pretty happy with the pacing overall. In regards to flaws, like I said, I do think there are some things that the film could have dived into more. Like, we don't really get into how Dolemite as a film was received until the very end. And look, yes, Disaster Artist did do something similar to that, but this film, I don't think handled it quite as well as that one. You see him deal with the reviews, and pretty much immediately after, he kind of, learns to just ignore it and things like that. And I just felt they could have maybe delved into that a little bit more, but that's not really my biggest flaw. My biggest flaw with this film is that a lot of the other characters, besides Rudy, besides Divine Joy Randolph's character, and besides Wesley Snipes' character, they don't feel as dived into as they could have. His group of friends especially, I felt like there could have been a little bit more to them. Keegan-Michael Key's character starts off very intriguing, and he kind of just pitters out towards the end. They stuck out to me because they're really entertaining in these roles, but I wanted a little bit more to their characters. What are they personally going through? What are their struggles? We definitely get a hint of it, but I wish there could have been a little bit more there. Obviously, yes, the movie is about Rudy Ray Moore, but I would have liked it if we dived just a little bit deeper into that. But other than that, Dolemite Is My Name is easily the best Netflix film I have seen so far this year. It's the kind of film that Eddie Murphy absolutely needed. It serves as a great comeback for him, but also just as a great love letter to who Rudy Ray Moore was and the passion that he had, and it's something that we can all very much respect in that way. It embraces its 70s aesthetic. It's absolutely hysterical, and overall it's just one of the most entertaining films of the entire year. And yes, it definitely does delve into similar tropes that we've seen with stories like this before, but again, this is a film that's just so delightful and fun. It's easy to ignore that. It's easy to get behind the fact that yes, some of it does feel just a tiny bit derivative at points. And like I said, I say this every single year, but this is the kind of stuff that, Netflix, they very much are confused with what kind of stuff they need to take on. This is the kind of project that I think they need to acquire more, and I definitely do want to see more films like this from them for sure, and I'm definitely going to give Dolemite Is My Name overall in A-. So guys, in my review of Dolemite Is My Name, let me know what you guys saw this movie overall, lift your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.